Hello, welcome to another installment of Association Peeps and Cubicles Drinking Coffee. I'm John Ricco with Partners in Association Management.
I am Rachel Luoma with Partners in Association Management. I like how we touch our chest, like, yes, this is who I am.
I am me.
I am me.
All right, so today we're here to talk about quality control, particularly in the association management aspect. But first we have to get to our coffee of the day, Lavazza Gran Selezione.
Nice. They make tea also, right? Lavazza. I think they make tea.
So.
Yeah.
I think so. Grand selection, that means.
I'm
Italian, I know. It means I made a great selection.
I wish I could say some Italian word here. Yay!
Anyway, so it's intense and chocolatey. This is dark roast. It's actually pretty good. It's nice and dark. I don't know about the chocolatey stuff. I don't get that. But anyway, and it's also Rainforest Alliance certified.
What does that mean?
I looked it up. It's a real deal.
A real deal?
A real deal.
Rainforest Alliance certified.
It's a group that looks at, they certify products like this. They look for social, environmental, and economic. They have third-party auditors. For all of the certification nerds and association nerds like us, it's not just a cute frog; it's the real deal.
It's funny. The certification on the box makes you think of Tommy Boy. I won't go into detail, but it makes me think of Tommy Boy.
All right, enough of that.
Yes.
Okay, so Rachel, you recently wrote a blog.
I did.
For our Partners Preceptors blog about quality control. And why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about that blog?
So one of the things that we've recently done is kind of overhauled our accounting software for payables. And anytime you're creating a new system, you want to create the system and you want to make sure that everybody is doing the process the same way. And so that prompted us to look at our process for accounting and for finances. And we wanted to ensure that we were able to build in checks and balances and then build in quality control processes, especially when you're dealing with things like finances, to make sure that we're all doing it the same way and that we've got a high level end product, if you will.
Right. And that was a really good undertaking. I think it opened our eyes a lot in terms of things that we could all do better to make sure that we're keeping an eye on incomes and inflows and outflows and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about that and making sure that you have that process in place and then making sure that you have identified gaps in the process and you have a system in place to mitigate those gaps, if you will.
Rachel, I just know in some of my general conversations with people about this type of stuff that they think they might have quality control, but they say, oh, well, it's in my head. I've been doing this magazine for 10 years. I know what I'm doing. Or I've been doing this meeting for 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years, and I've got it down. It's all in my head. What would you say to somebody who thinks that that's quality assurance?
Well, so I would say we know what we know and we know what we don't know, but it's the things we don't know that really can create those gaps in ensuring a quality end product. And so, to someone who says it's all in my head, that's great for you, but that doesn't necessarily lend to the team environment. It doesn't allow us, if you win the lottery or you have to go on some sort of leave of absence, that we know what that process looks like. And then there may be other things that we can do to enhance that process that we're not able to do because we don't know what it is. So when it's in your head, it doesn't, to me, lend to the best end product necessarily, and there's always room for that improvement. So, listen, we all I don't want to say preserve our knowledge and preserve our job, because there is some job security in knowing that I can do it. But also that's not necessarily the best for the product. It's not necessarily the best for the association. And so you have to start thinking of it in that respect.
Right. And I think, they might not know, but I know you work in a certification program.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
As well. And there's things like systematic and planned and all these,
absolutely,
phrases that talk about ensuring that there's steps that are being followed on a consistent basis. And when you've got it in your head, that doesn't necessarily mean that one day you're just you're on your A game and you forget X, Y, or Z.
Oh, for sure. And you speak to certifications, like we're managing the certification program, but many certification programs that we may apply for, CAE, or as partners, we have the AMCI accreditation. So we're an accredited association management company. You have to document your processes and your procedures as part of that accreditation process. And so that's just really a best practice to be able to go and have that kind of documentation. And then within that documentation, you build in those quality control steps along the way.
Okay, so in terms of the blog article that you wrote, dealt
Primarily, let's start from the beginning. In terms of...
Okay, in terms of the blog post that you just wrote,
Right.
No, I can't say. Primarily focuses on financial aspects.
Correct.
Payables, check writing, inflows, outflows, all that good stuff. It seems like in the association world, quality assurance and quality control processes can be applied to almost everything.
Oh yeah, it would permeate through everything that you do. I mean, think about it from a membership standpoint. We all have databases where we are putting information in there, and we want to make sure that we have a documented process for that. And then we want to make sure that we have a quality control check and quality control process for that, so that Joe Smith doesn't get a membership certificate for Jane Smith, and vice versa. So we're looking at it from that. Think about publications. I mean, I know we're all in this weird place with printed publications, online publications, and we're all trying to find our sweet spot for that. But the last thing you want to do is put out a board roster with your board members' names spelled incorrectly. And so you've got to have that quality control process in place for your publication. Same thing with certification. We talked about that, making sure that we're not having things fall through the cracks to where, you know, if somebody needs 12 hours of continuing education, they're getting a letter saying that they still are outstanding hours, but they have 16 on file. And so building those quality control processes into every element of the work that you do for associations, I think, is paramount.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say in terms of if somebody is watching this and they're saying, yeah, you know, we probably in this area or that area probably need to start being a little bit more systematic in our approach, where would you recommend they start?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of checklists. I think to me they're logical and they don't necessarily have to be linear, performed in necessarily a specific order. So I would say sit down with that area, that program area, whether it's your meeting or your membership or your publication or your finances, and say, what are the top 10 mistakes that we're going to make here or that we could make here? And start with those. And there's 10 items on your quality control checklist that you could start from. Mm-hmm. So if I'm looking at financials and I'm saying, okay, I'm reviewing a payable that comes in. All right, I'm looking at who the vendor is from. I'm looking at what's the date of the invoice. I'm making sure that there's an invoice number. Right? These are all the things that at the end of the day could be mistakes that we're missing or making that are going to cause errors in our financial statements. And so those are the things that I'm building my checklist on. So I would say start from where the errors are or where the mistakes are that we find, and then build in processes to mitigate those mistakes.
Right. Well, and I think your answer there touches on a very important point that a lot of people think of quality control as when the product's almost done to go and look to see that it looks good. But by having all of those steps in place, you can catch the problems way before the end of the line, and then you've got and address a little problem here before it becomes a bigger problem.
Absolutely.
Here.
I mean, it flips it from reactive to proactive in some respects, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Catch it while it's catch it
That's
early.
right. Catch it on the front end.
All right, Rachel, so as we wrap this up, key takeaways for the folks at home who have hopefully been taking copious notes.
Yes, copious notes.
Folks at home.
The folks at home, as you sip your own lavazas at home. All right, so key takeaways is quality control shouldn't be daunting. And it's incremental. So take an area and look at your areas that you may create mistakes and start your checklist. And then it's a living document. Every time you see something new, add to it. Every time you see a mistake, build in that control in that process. And if you're continuously updating that process, then at the end of the day, you're going to have a great one. And so I just say start small and continue to review and, quality control your quality control.
QC the QC.
QC the QC, exactly.
All right, well, all good suggestions and good tips. Thanks for taking some time.
My pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for you of joining this installment of Association Peeps in Cubicles Drinking Coffee.
Y'all have a great one.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.